Hey everyone. I'm gonna do something real quick. All right, if anyone's here. Hold on. Da-da-da. Yeah, I don't know if anybody here, you guys. I can't really see besides the me. Name's JD Glasscock. I'm the author of the series Nocturne. And right now, my big thing right now is in the beginning of, hey, Ryan, the beginning of, and Ryan is actually a producer, the beginning of, hey, the beginning of December is early December. I'm shooting the first short film I've shot in probably over 4 years. It's called West Drunken Blues, because that's what I did for a decade before I started novels 2 years ago. And you do have an opportunity to be a producer on it if you want to get IMDb credits and film credits. There's a small Kickstarter on my page that's open to public. You'll see it. It's called West Drunken Blues. It's only for $1,000. The short's going to cost probably over $3,000, so I'm going to take care of the rest. But I wanted to provide an opportunity for people that want to be involved with one of my films and have their name on IMDb and stuff as a producer. Ryan is a producer. I think 420 or something is already raised, and it's still got like 19 days. But a little background on me, I guess. I started off 34 years ago in 1990 as a slam poet. Was blessed enough to make it onto a national team for Orange County. Then I did music for a decade, moved to Seattle, singer-songwriter of a blues rock band called Sofa King for a decade in Seattle. Then I decided I wanted to do film, moved to LA and spent 8 years in LA making a living, doing background acting on any kind of show or movie you can think of for those 8 years, and also stand in. And then after that, I moved to Texas like 7 years ago to be near my mom. It does, Ryan. You'll look great there. My mom moved to Texas from Washington and to live with my little sister and her family, and so I moved up here. And I got kind of burnt out on dealing with specifically American film industry when it comes to feature films. I spent like 3 years trying to get feature film funded. And it was so much not about the script or writing or what I can do as a director. It was all about how big is your social media and what A-list name actors do you have? Hey, Basil. And what name A-list actors do you have attached? That was all they cared about. They don't care about the script. They didn't want to read script. That was all they cared about. And I did that circle for like 4 years and listened to everybody and their brother tell me they're going to do this for me and do that for me. And I should have already known that from 8 years in LA, that there's just a lot of people in the film industry that are just full of shit. So a little over 2 years ago, I said, I need to do something different. I can't deal with this energy anymore. And I had already been reading Lit RPG. I've read voraciously since I was like a little kid, like a couple books a week. But for about the year before that, I started reading Lit RPG, and then that was all I was reading. And so a little over 2 years ago, I said, what can I do? Hey, what can I do that only requires me, doesn't require anybody else? I don't have to rely on anybody else. And I can actually finally make maybe hopefully some money on writing instead of, writing short films and poetry and lyrics and all these things that don't make money. Although I made some money in film. I got hired several times to ghostwrite other people's shit, which I would never do again. But so then I decided to write novels, and of course, since all I've been reading is Lit RPG, so a little over 2 years ago, I wrote my first book. Now I have 10 books out, so 10 books in 2 years. But my first 3 series didn't really do shit. I wasn't really listening to my author friends that were telling me to write to market. I was ignoring them and doing my own thing. So finally, I listened to them after the third failed series, and I said, you know what, I'm going to finally write to market. And then that was Nocturne. That was 4.5 months ago, 5 months ago. And that was Nocturne. I finally wrote to market. And lo and behold, guess what happened? I finally had a series hit. So then book 2 of Nocturne's already out. Book 3 I'm working on right now. I'm about 55K in. It's not actually due till January, but I usually put the deadlines. I usually always come out before the deadline. So I'm expecting it to be out in the end of December. I was lucky and blessed enough to have Wayne Mitchell come on board as the narrator for Nocturne. I can't afford to hire a narrator. I don't have $3 or $4 grand. So he was beautiful. Hey, James. Just to let you guys know, James is an amazing writer, as all of you are. But James, whenever I get uninspired or have writer's block, I have a giant poster of James in his rogue outfit. If you've ever seen him on TikTok in his little fun TikTok group, and literally just looking at him in his rogue outfit inspires me. And it's just pure muse, man. Anyway, so I started Nocturne. I've been blessed with Wayne Mitchell doing the thing, and that guy is like a machine, dude. He got each book 1 and book 2 done in like 10, 11 days each. And they're doing amazing. The first one came out like the 10th of this month, and the second one came out like just like a week and a half ago, and we've already sold 250 units or something like that. And I don't know what I don't listen to Audibles, not even my own. So to me, 250 units in like 3 weeks, and one of those titles not even coming out until like a week and a half ago. To me, that's pretty darn good. Now Wayne cannot do female voices worth shit, but he does everything else like amazingly. He has a different voice for every character, all that kind of stuff. So I'm hard at work at book 3. I'm moving, and I finally went to writing full time. So I've had enough success from Nocturne, and it's a dream that has been 34 years long of me making a living creating. And I feel blessed, and I'm humbled and in deep gratitude that Nocturne has finally done that. I don't know. I mean, Audible is always, even with Nocturne, it's still only about maybe 15% of my income from Nocturne. Nocturne, I sell anywhere from, you know how I'm very transparent with all that shit, man. I sell anywhere from 65, 70 to 100 and something units a day, if you count KU and ebook. Nocturne, I'm selling like 15, 20, you know what I mean? Like a day. So, or maybe anywhere from 12 to 15 a day now that both are out. So it's still like not anywhere near the same percentage, but it is important. 10 or 15% is 10 or 15% more of whatever. So I'm blessed. And it's allowed me, I made the decision next year around June, I'm moving to Portugal. I appreciate it, Ryan. You believe me, it's 34 years in the making. I was working at 53 years old, I was working as a waiter at Texas Roadhouse, surrounded by a bunch of 20-year-olds that didn't want to work and have no work ethic. So literally, I was a 53-year-old guy, like doing all of the hard work ass shit, getting ice, getting glasses while waiting on all my tables, blah, 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 blah. And so believe me, the day that I finally book 2, I waited till book 2 came out. So book 1 was already making me about $4,500 a month. But I wanted to be sure before I just quit. So I waited till book 2 came out, and I didn't quite make it. Book 2 already had 250 pre-orders. So about 3 or 4 days before book 2 came out, I was like, you know what, 250 pre-orders. It tells me it's probably going to at least do solid, and I am going to shoot myself in the head if I have to keep fucking waiting tables and watching all these lazy fucks around me. So I put in my notice early, and on my last day, I was so over it. In the middle of it, I went over and went off on the fucking manager and walked out. but it was probably the most beautiful moment of my entire life. But it was, I'm blessed, man. And then the cool thing about it, though, is when I moved to Portugal, Portugal is big on, all of Europe has way different perspective and viewpoint on art and artists. They look at it way more as a national treasure and asset than the U.S. The U.S. does not give a shit about its artists unless it's a celebrity and they can use them in their little whatever they're doing. But Portugal has actually pushed the last 3 or 4 years has pushed its film industry hard. They want to have films that are made, not only made in Portugal, but made by people who live in Portugal. So I've already actually had some preliminary conversations, connections. And I'm actually feeling pretty good that once I get to Portugal, I'm finally going to shoot one of my feature films, partnering up with a Portuguese company. Although they have so much culture, man. So they look at actual artists as a representation of their country, like they value it. You know what I mean? Like if you go to most European countries, they have so many grants and things for artists that support artists that US, you would never see those ever. Unless it's tied to like a university and it's very political. But anyway, it's very beautiful though. So in the first, I have like 5 feature film scripts. So I think the first one up though is I'm going to shoot my female-driven mafia film called A God Among Sheep, The Rise of Maria Salvatore. And so I think that'll fit that thematic of being over there in Europe and being near Italy and all that kind of stuff. But if you ever want to check out just my short films, like all the short films I've done, and I've been blessed with winning awards and all that kind of stuff. It's very nice. It's YouTube / Jonathan Glasscock, JONATHAN Glasscock. There's like 12 of them up there or something like that. But other than that, any questions, you guys? While we have a few minutes here. We got actually about another 20 minutes. Any queries about the Glasscock besides my being inspired by large posters of James in a rogue outfit? Come on, Ryan. I think you at least have one question. Oh, I am so pantser. In fact, I was talking to TJ. I was helping TJ Lombardi when he came out with his newest one, Dying Breed. He did the live video, and I was helping him show him how to do categories on and use things like KDP Publisher, or used to be called KDP Rocket, to find categories that he has a chance to get #1 bestseller in. And I was explaining to him how important it is to have a bestseller tag. It puts you in a lot of groups, helps with sales. Then we were going over advertising and how to use Amazon and Facebook advertising. But while we were talking, he was in shock, man, because he was like, because I literally make up everything as I go. And when you were talking about writer's block earlier, James, I've never had writer's block in my life. I've had writer's laziness, which is a different thing. I don't feel like writing, but sometimes in the novels, I will be at pause because I'm making up everything as I go. And so then I'll be in a scene where I'm still trying to, even though I'm not writing on the keyboard, I'm still writing in my head. I'm trying to figure out how I want to handle the situation I put that character or multiple characters in that I'm in the middle of writing. And so I might take a half a day to like contemplate it. And I do things like you do, James, or I do like little spurts. I keep my computer up all day long. I write every day, but I'll go and write like 2 or 3 paragraphs. Then I'll do something else for 20 minutes. Then I'll come over and write 2, 3 paragraphs. And I try to do a little over 2,000 a day. TJ was in shock because he's read or listened to, I think, the Audible on Nocturne. And he was saying, dude, that system and everything is so complicated and so in depth and so all that. Don't tell me you like made up all that as you went. And the reality was I had a bones of a system before I started. And then, like most pantsers, I had a general idea of what the thematic of book one was, like they're in a tutorial. But I elaborated and made the system and all that kind of stuff as I went. And he was in shock that you could do that and still be. But I'm like, man, for 30 some, like since I was like 5 years old, I was a loner. All I did was create worlds and create everything and play Dungeons and Dragons and do all these things since I was like, I can remember. I mean, the medium has changed, but from poetry to lyrics to music to film to novels. But I've been creating. I have to stop coming up with ideas more than I've ever once lacked ideas. But hopefully that answers a little bit of that. But yeah, I'm definitely a pantser. I literally make it up as I go, and a lot of times have to like figure out where I can twist out of the corner I painted myself in. Let's go to Ryan, then I'll answer James. I'll answer your next one. So what you have for inspiration? So what gave you inspiration for Nocturne first? Read the first 25%. It really is good. Well, so when I listened to the advice, as I said earlier, when I listened to the advice, finally, that they've been giving me the whole time of write to market, I did several things. One, I stopped writing 250-page books. I said, I'm going to write something 500 pages or more. Two, I said, write to market. I'm going to quit trying to do my own shit, and I'm going to write to what's popular. And the cool thing about Lit RPG is Lit RPG has so many subgenres that are popular, whether it be cards, whether it be the multiversal, primal hunter, he who fights, factions, gods, all that stuff. It has the dungeon stuff that's popular. I mean, there's several subgenres that are market and popular. Me personally, I took the books I love the most: Primal Hunter, He Who Fights, System Ascension, Victor from Tucson, all these things, which are kind of all along in those lines of multiversal factions, vast cosmos, gods, all that kind of stuff. And I basically did my version of that. I said, okay, this is super popular. This whole thematic of post-apocalyptic multiversal factions, everyone going in, that's super popular. I'm going to finally listen to my friends. I'm going to write to market. I'm going to go over 500 pages. I'm going to write what's popular. I'm going to do my version of it, but I'm going to do that. And lo and behold, guess what happened? It was successful. So there wasn't any magical formula. It was just me getting over my stubbornness and trying to do my own niche. And a good friend of mine, Faith Hunter, I've been friends with for, 5-6 years, who's a traditional published author. She's probably the female version of Jim Butcher. You can't go to a Barnes and Noble and not find her shit. She finally cut through the shit and said, shut the fuck up, JD. Write to market. Once you have success and you have massive success and you have had success for a while, then you can do whatever the fuck you want. Until then, write to market if you want to actually make a living at it. And it was that final catalyst in the way she said it, even though she was saying the same thing other people had, that finally cut through, because I'm a no bullshit kind of guy. So someone cutting through all the bullshit and not being nice about it and not caring about how I reacted to it and just cutting through it finally was that little break that made me go, fine, I'm going to do that. So that was the inspiration for Nocturne. What piece of advice would you give to a new author looking to start publishing in Lit RPG? That's a hard one, James, and I think you've even hit on it, man. Is there's 1,000 roads to Damascus. It depends on who you're talking about, what their personality type is, what kind of story they're writing, what kind of time span do they have, what kind of working job do they have? Do they have the money to sit on Royal Road for 2 years? Do they have the money to do editors? Do they have the money to do that? If they were like me, where I was poor and broke and I didn't have time to do all that and I needed something to make money and bring money in, then I give different advice based on what all those dynamics are. And you know that, James, everybody is its own unique entity. Every story they want to tell, their own life, where they are in life would dictate a lot of the advice I would give, and what they need out of it, what they're looking for out of it, what they want out of it. Do they want to make money, or do they just want to create worlds that make them happy? You know what I mean? And a small niche of people happy. All those aspects are involved in what kind of advice I would give them. And then I would do the same thing you did, James. I would preface all that advice of saying, in reality, take what you want out of anything I say and ignore the fucking rest. Because there is literally 1,000 roads to Damascus. I stopped listening to anyone that starts saying, the only way to do this, there is never an only way. There are always a shit ton of ways to do something. I want to know how you write, because you go all in and make all your characters even. Guard number 2 has a life and matters. How are you able to keep track of all that? And I thank you for making every character in your book. Thank you. So I grew up Star Wars and all that stuff. I grew up with all of that shit I went to see. I remember watching Star Wars in the drive-in theater when it came on. When it came out, I remember my parents backed the pickup truck in, and me and my sister sat in the back truck, and we watched it 2 times in a row. And so I remember all that. But I do remember, and I do the same thing in film or any other avenue or medium with which I write. I've never believed in writing a character that had no meaning or no value. And I think he's referencing, I say that a lot, is I always promised myself I was never going to write that stormtrooper that just says, move along, move along. Every character, even if they're only in one scene, I want to have depth and feeling and emotion and intensity and value to that one scene that they bring, and poignancy to them. So that even if that one guy came in and died, if he has dialogue, now I'm not going to say there's never, in my feature films, never a thug in the background that gets shot. There are those things. But if they have actual dialogue, then I want to have poignancy to them, because I think, and that's why every once in a while I'll jump POVs into the villains' heads, because it provides more value to their interaction with the MC when there's actually, whether they're assholes or not, there's still a story there. Where they could be an asshole because it doesn't make them any less of an asshole, but if you add some depth and flesh to who they are as a person, then it's more powerful and poignant when the MC has to deal with them for the reader, in my opinion. The reader, it gives more value to that interaction. All right, they're right on. It's nuance for sure. It is, James. I mean, you know that, James. I see you do that. Whenever you're giving advice, James, you always are saying, but understand that any advice that an author gives is bullshit. Now, I think you're kind of purposefully over-exaggerating that statement, but the gist is, it depends on so many factors that any advice even the most brilliant author could give you might not be right for you, or might not be right for your circumstance, or all the layers of who you are, what you want, what you're looking for, what kind of story you want to write, the reason you're writing it, what you want fiscal success, do you want to just be able to tell a story? All of those things that more than likely that author who's giving you advice doesn't know are going to affect what kind of advice you're getting. So there's a large chance that any advice they give you, it isn't applicable to you, because they don't know all the nuances of who you are, what you want, what your financial situation is, all those things. Now, I think a lot of authors give blatant advice, and readers especially, because they have no clue the cost of things, as if every person trying to be an author has a shit ton of pocketed money. But I think that's untrue. I think there's a lot of people that are trying to become authors that have no money. And so when people just throw the advice, oh, make sure you have an editor, make sure you get a dev editor, make sure you get a line editor, make sure you sit on Royal Road for a year, and blah, blah, blah. That's good advice if you're talking to a person that has that financial job behind them, or fiscal, or time, or living at their parents' house still. But I don't think it's appropriate for everyone. So what's the story for the new movie? What are you talking about? The short film? The one I'm shooting in early December, the short film? Or are you talking about A God Among Sheep, The Rise of Maria Salvatore, the feature I want to shoot in Portugal? Because the one in Portugal, it's they told her she would never. Oh, the Western. Okay, so, well, dude, that's literally. It's like a 3-page short film. So it's literally on my page. It's literally, it's like 3 pages. So it's not, I mean, it's hard to get a synopsis out of 3 pages. But basically, it's a a recently retired Texas Ranger who lives in a small town in Texas and literally is fucking around on his wife, getting drunk every night. And he basically, while he was at the saloon in town getting drunk and messing around with whoever, his wife and his kid were both murdered. And they were murdered by the husband and a couple of thugs of one of the women he was sleeping with. Now, so the story takes place with him in front of their graveyard, apologizing, saying he's not worthy as a husband, wasn't worthy as a father, and there's nothing he can ever do. But then he says, hell is coming. The cards are laid out, and I'm gonna at least put down the people that did this. And then the next scene is him in front of a farmhouse calling out a guy named Lewis, saying, "You killed my wife and kid. Come out and take your due." That guy is a scaredy cat nerd screaming out that the Ranger slept with his wife, but then you find out through dialogue that almost half the town has slept with his wife. But these two thugs who hate Jeremiah Jones, which is the name of the Ranger, just took it all and they were sleeping with the Lewis's guy wife as well, but they're bullies and thugs. So they got Lewis drunk and got him to go with them over to that house. They get the drop on the Ranger. The Ranger says, "Don't ever think you get a drop on a Ranger, boys." And then basically everyone dies. Got a 5-minute warning. And then the woman comes out who basically been cheating on her husband with half the town after everyone's dead. And you find out that she's so crushed and soul broken that she caused all this. And then you find out she makes alludes to that she was abused by her father and why she's such a broken soul. And then she picks up his Jeremiah Jones gun and it ends with the gun to her head, go to black, and then a shot. So it's a heavy piece, but when you do short films, you basically have about 8 or 9 minutes to make something impactful if you want to win awards and you don't have a ton of money. So it's usually heavy, dramatic, dark emotions, those kind of things. When you only have like 8, 9 minutes with which to win shit. So there you go. But I've already cast some amazing actors. I had a great, I put it on Backstage, Texas Backstage, and I had several hundred people submit. So it's good. Yeah, I think she said it's I have like 2 minutes, I think, or something like that. Yeah, Jeremiah Jones, yes. And then the thugs are like Lem and Dawkins. And then Lewis is the nerdy dude, and then Eva is the girl. So, yes, the biggest expense is I'm going to be renting the costumes and props, and then I'm going to have to cheat around a lot with camera. But it's the coolest part about this. The only reason I'm doing it is my nephew is super talented. He's only 16, but he's been making these little shorts of his own, and they're brilliant. He still needs a lot to learn, but natural eye, natural talent with the camera. So I'm letting him be the DP. I'm getting him a DP IMDb credit, and I'm going to teach him a bunch of shit while he's there, how to cheat the camera, how to use layered lighting, how to go up and down and angles with camera, how to add the rules of 180 and staying on the same side, how to use natural lighting by using a person's hat to naturally block, by using going under a tree partially to use some of the sun and some of not. So I'm going to teach him a bunch of shit. But anyway, it's gonna be cool. And the cool thing with short films is you don't need to worry about music. You can use any music because you're not monetizing it. You're not monetizing the short film, so you can pretty much use most music and do not worry about the copyright since there's no money involved in it. So it should be good. But anyway, thanks you guys. I'm on a panel, I think, next. So we got a panel. I'm literally on the next panel and expanding worlds. But anyway, thanks for all stopping by. Beautiful blessings, big love, and follow your dreams, your visions, and believe in yourself and have faith. And Lola says goodbye.